So this is actually our third Solution Cities Town Hall event. I'd like to thank Mayor Rawlings-Blake once again for hosting this great event with us. As you know, we've been coming together to have some really important conversations about how we can support underserved youth in our cities and really across the country. We have a group of people across our country between the age of 16 and 24 that are either not in school or not working or both. And it's creating a really big problem and something that Starbucks certainly feels is an important problem that we can help to start a conversation around, and we can help to make better. And Mayor Rawlings-Blake and her team are really nationally recognized for creating a really great program around building youth unemployment and solving youth unemployment in the cities. And we want to help with that conversation. And that's why we're bringing leaders together from across the community to talk about how we can be better and things that we can work on together to help the mayor and her team get the word out around this amazing program throughout the city, and also to talk about new ways and different ideas and things that we can do to help solve that problem. And not only do we have underserved youth between 16 and 24 that are not in school and not working, but we also have a lot of veterans that are coming back that are also going to be looking for great opportunities and great education. So this work really needs to encompass that as well. So with that, at Starbucks we have a little tradition, so if you'll just kind of bear with us, what we're going to do is a quick coffee tasting.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Thank you for coming this evening. As Mark said, my name is Erica. I'm the store manager here at Southside Marketplace. Tonight's tasting is a returning favorite grown in the Asia Pacific region. This is Sulawesi. It's a dark roast, but it has low acidity, so a lot of our partners, it's a favorite. They can actually drink it black, so just go ahead and...
You don't drink coffee nowadays?
She said, not dark like that, with some cream and sugar. So like I said, this is a returning favorite that we had years ago as a core coffee, and we brought it back as a promotional coffee, so I hope you enjoy. Thank you all very much.
Hope you enjoyed that. That's actually a new coffee that we're offering, so come back in anytime and try it, please, please. And I think I failed to mention, my name is Mark Backer. I'm the Regional Director of Operations for Baltimore here in, well, actually throughout the state, but I also have Baltimore as well. And again, it's our honor to have the mayor and her team here today to start, to continue to have this great conversation.
You forgot to tell people that they're supposed to slurp the coffee.
Oh, that's right. The mayor does bring up a good point. You do need to slurp the coffee so it aerates across your tongue. Because at Starbucks, we actually try to locate where you can taste the coffee on your tongue. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that clarification. I really appreciate that. So with that, I will turn it over to the mayor and we can start the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. And it's important because I want people to know we try to keep this informal in the sense that I think Starbucks is a nice informal meeting place, gathering place, and you should slurp your coffee and enjoy. I won't tell you what number visit this is for me to Starbucks today, but it's not the first time I've been there. So I'm glad to be here with all of you, and I'm really pleased to have the councilman for this district, Councilman Eric Costello, to join us. Thank you very much for being here. He has been a great partner in your, how many months has it been? Not that you're counting?
4 months, 19 days.
In his time as councilman, he's been a great partner, and I appreciate you being here. And I'm pleased to be here on what is comparatively a balmy day to speak about our shared vision for our city and how we can work together to make it a reality. Our first 2 town hall meetings were concentrated on growing the public-private partnerships and that we have around youth employment and preparing young people for the workforce. And I thought they were very powerful conversations. This evening's event, the third in our Solution City series, will focus on philanthropy and the crucial role that funders play in this work. And I want to hear your input and ideas and explore creative ways for the public, private, and philanthropic organizations to work together around this issue. Right now, it is absolutely critical to ensure that Baltimore has a well-prepared workforce that keeps our city and its economy growing. And this is something I take very seriously, and I'm always looking for ways to make the connections to strengthen the pipeline we have of qualified young people from school to whether it's a training program or college or a career, that we want them to be as prepared as possible for our young people to be able to rise to the level of their ability, unhampered by the obstacles that sometimes society's forces put in their way. So across the United States, the youth employment rate is at its lowest since World War II. Meanwhile, many entry-level or lower-skilled jobs are being filled by older and more experienced workers. And those of you who spend any time with young people who are that are in the work world or trying to enter have heard, I'm sure, about this issue. Making matters more complicated is that by 2020, nearly 70% of the jobs in Maryland will require some level of post-secondary education or training. So we need to think smarter. This is not a problem that government can solve by itself. So that's why we're here today, to talk about how the vital role of the public-private philanthropic partnerships, how that will help us to pool our resources to have a greater impact. Together, I know that we can truly make Baltimore a solution city. So I'm looking forward to our conversation. I am going to invite the members of the panel to introduce themselves, and after doing so, I would encourage you to give your remarks. I know that you've prepared about 3 to 5 minutes of remarks, and then we will go into questions, okay? So I am going to start with Linda, correct? And she will, well, I only gave half of your name, so you can give your full introduction, and you'll make the first presentation, and then we'll move down the line. We have Janet Curry, Philip Westry, Tony Grace. Where's Tony? Tony with the sparkles. I'm liking it. And LaShawn, right? Thank you very much. So we'll go right down the road.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Linda Dworak. Let's see, this is heavy, so I'm going to take it out. My name is Linda Dworak, and I am with an organization called the Association of Baltimore Area Grant Makers. And at the Association of Baltimore Area Grant Makers, I direct something called the Baltimore Workforce Funders Collaborative. So that's a lot of words, right? So let me tell you first a little bit about the Association of Baltimore Area Grant Makers, which we call ABAG. Some of you in here who are funders may be members of ABAG. ABAG is a membership organization for philanthropy. And we have about 145 grant makers from across the state that belong to the association. And that represents about 80% of philanthropic giving, philanthropic organizations in the state. It's foundations, funds, public charities, and corporate giving programs. And ABAG's role as an association is to provide a network for those funders, a resource, and a voice. One of the things that we do is we help coordinate activities sort of like this, but on a regular basis, a couple of times a week, we have for our members informational sessions where the members kind of come up with ideas of things they want to learn about that will help inform their giving. So if they want to learn, they're really interested in K through 12 education systems and they want to know more about how charter schools work, for example, they will organize an event where experts will come in and speak to the members about that subject. And as well, they'll share information with one another. So that's kind of the framework. within which I work, and I work on issues of workforce development. So in the workforce development arena, we have a group of funders who come together not only to learn about topics, but also to pool and align funds. We are lucky in Baltimore to be the home to the Annie E. Casey Foundation and the Harry and Jeanette Weinberg Foundation, which are two very large foundations that support a variety of things, but they also have, the Casey Foundation is focused on kids. Both the Weinberg and the Casey Foundation make significant investments in workforce development. We also have the Able Foundation, which is a very significant and large funder of these programs, as well as a lot of organizations. You're going to hear from Janet Curry in a minute from Bank of America, who really cares about issues of youth and work. A couple of things I'll just kind of quickly, I know I've probably already gone over my time, but just some lessons we've learned about collaborating. That when you come together to collaborate in terms of funding, it's really important to have a neutral table where funders can talk to one another and share ideas. It's important to think about how to align the efforts that are going on with one another. So, before we had this workforce collaborative, I think we might have had funders kind of investing in things piecemeal, but now they kind of really come to the table and talk about where can they make the best impact and where can they share and align resources. We also need to be thinking about collaborating with public sector and what the city is doing and even within the city and the state, you have a variety of different types of agencies that are paying attention to this issue of youth. And in doing that, we can leverage and maximize our resources. A really big part of that is collecting data, understanding data, and that's a lot of what we do is look at the data out of workforce programs. I can talk a little bit more about how we apply this directly to youth and some of the youth programming, but we'll come back to that, I think, after everyone's had a chance to introduce themselves.
All right. Thanks, Linda. Is this one on? Okay, I'm just not close enough to it still? All right, I got you. I'm Janet Curry with Bank of America, and I really represent our foundation locally here in Baltimore, and so I really have, quite frankly, the best job in the bank because I have the opportunity to partner with lots of nonprofits, partner obviously with our government, partner with other organizations to help give out money to solve some of the things that are important to all of us. So that is a large part of my responsibility. As we talk about and think about how does that connect and what is our perspective around youth and employment, I have lots of prepared remarks that I think I'm going to abandon a little bit and just share. We've heard some statistics around youth unemployment. I think we all get it. It's important to connect people with jobs in order to thrive and live, right? And so as you think about youth, that's where it all starts. We need to give them skills and opportunities to make sure that their futures are bright. How does Bank of America view that? We really view that in partnerships. And we view it as employment and skills. And those two things really need to go together. So when we think about youth and employment, we really always make sure we also have a financial literacy component, because think about it, that first check that you get, what you do with it really determines your future outcomes. So do you understand what to do with it is as important as how do you get it. So again, going back to the partnerships, what we do through the foundation is really try to understand largely nonprofit initiatives, but also we certainly partner with the mayor and her office around Youth Works. And we grant money generally to those organizations in order to help the youth create jobs in nonprofits or small businesses. And so that's really that enables those organizations to build capacity while they are also employing youth. We do partner directly with some organizations where they are able to come into the bank. Obviously, the bank is a little bit tougher in terms of a summer job because it does require a lot of training. But we do have a partnership with Urban Alliance, and so we have an internship program that we do with them. And so, again, just really trying to utilize those philanthropic dollars to ensure that we're maximizing opportunities not only around the employment, but around the financial literacy. And I'll just, in conclusion, share with you part of that connection is through the U.S. Conference of Mayors. And so the Dollar Wise program is a program that the bank funds where we give out grants to the cities, and one of the grants is called an innovation grant, and that's really for cities whose programs have figured out how to, again, combine that financial literacy component to the employment component. And our distinguished mayor was the winner in 2013, and so really glad to be able to support Baltimore locally. But that is something that, is a national program. And so, again, this is something that is very important to us, and we have made a commitment over the next 3 years to make sure that we're connecting no less than 5,000 youth to jobs. And I will tell you, Madam Mayor, it is my full expectation that we will renew that partnership this summer and in a greater way than we did last year. So looking forward to that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Get this closer. My name is Philip. I am a compliance officer with St. Ambrose Housing Aid Center. St. Ambrose is a housing agency located here in Baltimore City. We've been around for 47 years. We work with new home buyers. We provide low to moderately priced rentals for people in Baltimore City. We also have a foreclosure prevention unit and a legal department that focuses on working with people who are facing foreclosure, who have that threat of losing their home. One of the great things about St. Ambrose is this tradition of working within communities and specifically community development. And that's where our work with youth sort of bubbles to the top. We partner with the mayor's Office of Employment Development through YouthWorks, and we've taken on several youth over the course of the last, I want to say, 8 years. And we recently started working with an organization called Community Law in Action. They do a mentoring program with youth from Reginald F. Lewis High School. Those students actually come into St. Ambrose, into our legal department, into our foreclosure prevention department, and they shadow our attorneys and our counselors for a day, 1 day a month, and we have that contract for the next 3 years. I was actually talking to Janet before about how do we pay for this? How do we keep these programs going? And I mentioned to her that we actually don't fundraise specifically for these programs. It's just a part of what we've been doing for the last 20 years. It's just a part of the culture. And as money goes up and down, I think I said to Janet, this is one of the last things I think we'll cut, but it's one of those. There's an expense to keeping this type of program going on. We also have a couple of other partnerships with AmeriCorps and Lutheran Volunteer Corps and the Jesuit Volunteer Corps. So that's reaching those folks who are 19 and older. For example, actually, I was talking to a coworker when I was headed here, and she told me that she did YouthWorks with St. Ambrose. I want to say 13 years ago or whatever it was called back then, and here it is. She's back with us, and so that's one of those things where we were able to help her pick up some skills. She went off and went to college and had other work experiences, and now she's back with us. I don't expect that's the plan, but it's a nice story. Either way, we'd like to keep working with the community, and we're really here just sort of representing the groups that work one-on-one with employing youth. Thanks.
Hello, my name is LaShawn Jones. I am the Community Outreach Manager of Task Force, which is a subdivision of Youth as Resources. So this can make sense for you all. I'm going to let Tony introduce Youth as Resources, and then I'll talk about Task Force.
Well, I gotta move up then. I'm Tony Grace, and LaShawn and I are a part of Youth as Resources. Thank you. Youth as Resources is a youth-led nonprofit grant-making and community organization. We give grants up to $3,500 to youth 21 years old and under to address a critical community problem. Every year we have 2 grant cycles, one in the spring and one in the fall, where we have 2 grant seekers workshops for each. Yeah, I get it. Okay. We have these grant seeker workshops to find new grantees that want to address problems in their community and make their communities better. We do this because we want to see a change in our city, and we want youth to become more involved in their communities and make a difference in their communities. And that's basically what we do. That's just a sum of everything. So I'm going to pass it to LaShawn to talk about Task Force.
Right, so piggybacking off of her, Youth as Resources is a little different because we are grant makers, but we also receive grants as well. So Task Force is the paid division of Youth as Resources. To be a part of Task Force, you have to be one of the most active volunteers at Youth as Resources. And it's funny because I was a grantee in like 2007, and I used to be a mediator. And we applied for a grant, and afterwards I cried, and I was like, oh my gosh, I sucked. I didn't say anything. We're not going to get this grant. And we got the grant. And then they were like, hey, do you want to be on the board? And I was like, I didn't do anything, but okay, sure. And now, like 8 years later, here I am, and I'm running stuff. And it's really cool. Task Force, I have like 7 to 10 people on Task Force, and we go into the community. We go to schools, we go to rec centers, we go to anywhere youth gather, basically. And we meet them where they're at. If they don't have a project idea, we'll help them brainstorm. We'll have community conversations where we go over the problems in the community. What are the causes of those problems? And then how can you solve those causes? Because that's how you get to the real root issue. And we have a lot of different things that we train on. We can train on facilitation skills. We train on budget writing. We train on youth-adult partnerships. We do a lot. And thank you, Starbucks. Starbucks has funded us before. Over the summer, we're employed year-round thanks to YouthWorks. YouthWorks helps cover some of the costs of the youth employed on Task Force throughout the summer. So that's pretty much it about Task Force.
I'm always, first, thank you to all of the panelists for participating, and I'm always inspired by the young people that we've had. Sometimes I wish when I hear the young people that we've had participate in these panels, I just wish that young people like you would get the spotlight. I think far too often we wait until a young person does something bad to pay any attention, particularly our partners in the media. And I just wish that more people had a chance, and hopefully through this Solution City, more people will have a chance to see the positive work that our young people are doing around the city. I'm reminded of an event I did yesterday where we announced the significant reduction in teen pregnancy. We set a goal of 20% to reduce teen pregnancy by 20% by 2015, and we achieved a 32% reduction. And a lot of that And it was the same thing, this collaboration. We had private partners, not-for-profit partners, philanthropic partners. But a key part of that, the success of that effort, I believe, was our young people. And we had youth advocates that were a part of this group that did peer-to-peer outreach and spoke to young people from across the city in the same way that you're doing about these the grants and being problem solvers. They did that outreach around teen pregnancy, and I think it resonates differently when that message is coming from young people. So I just want you to know how proud I am of the work that you're doing. And now I'm going to open up for some questions, and these questions are for our panel, as well as, we're certainly looking to get feedback from members of the audience as well. And the first question is, and this is a perennial question, whether we're talking about private partners or, other partners, it's always like the question is, how do we get more philanthropic organizations to join with our private sector partners to support youth development, youth employment? And it's a two-part question. What opportunities do you feel that we're leaving on the table that we could use to engage more of these partners to help us in this work? Anyone? Anybody?
I'll start it off. I think, actually, I had the opportunity to go visit the Reginald F. Lewis School of Business and Law yesterday, and it was eye-opening. So, in full disclosure, I'm doing GBC's leadership right now, and that was a tour that they put together. I'd like to pretend like I just woke up and knew that was a good thing to do in the morning. The reason I bring that up is because part of what we were doing in class was looking at statistics around achievement, right? Test scores, etc., which of course did not paint a picture that made me really excited. But when I walked into that school and spent an hour with that principal and then toured that school, I knew that the message wasn't really clear in the statistics, right? That there is a bigger story to tell. So to get to answering the question, I think that if we can figure out how to get more of that kind of engagement, particularly from the business sector. So, how do we invite business leaders at any level to really engage with our young people firsthand? So it's not enough to, we're great panelists, but it's not enough to just kind of hear this information in order to really have understanding and appreciation. But once you engage, like you said, Madam Mayor, when we sit and listen to these young ladies, we so clearly understand their value. So I think if we can figure out how to really get people out there with them more, and maybe we partner with maybe a United Way to put some more tours on. Those kind of firsthand opportunities, I think, really open your eyes.
So I'll piggyback a little bit on what you're saying about employer involvement. It's really, really critical. One thing that we've done through the Baltimore Workforce Funders Collaborative. First of all, we meet regularly. We have funders, and we have the Mayor's Office of Workforce Development participating in our meetings, and we reach out and talk to the state, and we invite funders to engage deeply in thinking about these issues. And just parenthetically, I would like to congratulate the mayor, because recently made an announcement that they have brought a friend of ours, Jason Perkins Cohen, to lead the Mayor's Office of Employment Development, and that's just going to be fabulous. It's one example of kind of how we're all the funder side. We're really excited because we know that Jason is fabulous. He understands these issues and really cares about them, and it's going to be wonderful to have him as a partner working on behalf of the city. So that's terrific. We're all really thrilled about it. So thank you for making such a great choice. So the funders that we work with have come together over time to support a type of workforce development program that has originally been really designed for adults who were looking for employment, that's called sectoral employment development. And sectoral employment development is a strategy where you work deeply with employers in an industry sector to both create access to jobs for individuals who are seeking to enter into the labor market, but also you really understand and engage with the employers around what their issues and their needs are. And so for many years now, philanthropy in Baltimore has tried to work in partnership with the city and in partnership with employers in sectors like healthcare, biotechnology, construction, green careers, culinary, a variety of different industry sectors where we've developed robust networks of employers who have an issue that they need to solve. Maybe it's they can't find enough employees. Maybe they need to diversify their workforce in a new way. Maybe they're having trouble retaining employees. Whatever it is that the issue they have, then you have a community organization, a nonprofit organization that can develop expertise in that sector and work with those employers to design pathways for people to enter into and succeed in careers in those sectors. So that's been going on for a number of years. Within the last couple of years, the state of Maryland passed a new law called Earn Maryland, which created a statewide fund that would help expand and grow those programs. And we have lots of data. We collect data on this locally in Baltimore. There's national data. This approach works. The question now is, how can that approach really, so this is an approach where you're targeted to an industry sector, you understand what the jobs are, what the needs of the employers are, where the career pathways are within those sectors, and you also tie in a robust set of supportive services for the individuals that are in the programs. So you're kind of doing really targeted skills training that makes sense, combined with robust supportive services, whether it be counseling for various barriers and challenges that people have, from financial counseling to personal counseling, housing, is child care an issue, kind of understanding those issues. So the question now is, how do we make that strategy really work for the younger population, 18 to 24? And a lot of the philanthropic community is kind of looking at that. So what works, what doesn't, what makes sense. Young people have a different set of needs sometimes, or the supportive services needs may be larger or different, more challenging. Young people don't necessarily, how many of us when we were 18 knew what job we were going to have or what our career pathway was going to be? It's almost ridiculous to expect someone at 18 to know what they want to do or what they want to be when they're 30 or 40, 50. So young people are in a phase of exploration, and a lot of our young people in Baltimore City haven't had much contact with employment, and they don't have the networks to access jobs. So, in philanthropy, we're constantly thinking about, or I guess the hot topic these days is really that question: how do we adapt this? So, to your question, Madam Mayor, I think that a lot of foundations are looking at this, and we're kind of trying to figure out what the solutions are. So the more we partner to figure those out and find strategies that work, I think that will attract more dollars, and the more we continue to engage employers, we'll attract more dollars that way as well.
I think that you just have to want to support youth. It's not actually that difficult. They need to, well, not they, but other grant makers need to realize how important youth are. We are the future workforce. We are going to take your jobs one day and have to probably take care of you too. So I don't know, just value us a little more and recognize that we have good ideas. We have good input. We can do just as much as you can do. Just train us a little bit because we have no experience. And now it's you need experience to get experience, and how is that possible? It's just not. I lucked out. Thanks. So yeah, that was it.
I actually agree with what Ms. Jones said. The thing that's missing is the fact that we don't want to end up with a generation of youth that haven't been employed. You don't want to end up with this lost generation of folks who are missing out on the opportunity, a lot of the opportunities that we had as youth. I had my first job at 14 at Krispy Kreme Donuts, and I've been working ever since. And I'm concerned that if your first job isn't until you're 19 or 20, you're just starting at a disadvantage. And that's another thing we have to figure out, how to get the private sector to see that, is that we want these connections to start early.
Thank you all for the input. As you think about, and I know, LaShawn, you mentioned, you just have to want to do it, but I have to, in putting myself in the mindset, or give myself the perspective of the philanthropic organization or even the private partner. Sometimes there's a desire to do good work, but there's also a desire to avoid mistakes. And when I say that avoid making an investment in something that doesn't work or with the wrong organization or something like that. So just to put that out there for the panel, and if anyone else has any feedback, sort of what are the obstacles that you think philanthropic organizations face when they're trying to do more in this work? And are there obstacles that you think that together we can overcome?
Well, I know that personally for us, some obstacles we have are like us getting funding to continue the work that we do, and getting like more officials, like city officials and people with authority to become more involved in what we do. Like, for example, we have a school redesign steering committee that we have, and that's basically with young people, like mostly students, coming to tell us like what their ideal school day would look like, what they think they want to change, and what will be better for them for their school day. Like, we wanted Dr. Thornton to come into one of our meetings, but like every time we try to like talk to somebody about that, they always say he's too busy or he can't right now. He has this and this and this. So like that's kind of some obstacles we have in our organizations.
I will say, if it was in the last week or so, he has been I can attest to a few challenges that he's had to give his full attention to. But the one thing I will say with respect to getting him there is to be vigilant and flexible, and offer some dates out in the future, because one thing I know about Dr. Thornton is he has done so well in his career is because he's sincerely has a passion and a compassion for our young people. He cares about young people. I was talking to one of the people that works for him. They told me that for every student that has a long-term suspension before they re-enter the school, he has a one-on-one meeting with them. I've never heard of a school CEO taking that type of time to give his personal attention to that issue, and I really think that speaks volumes about where his heart is. So I would just suggest that you stay vigilant, and I can certainly make sure that you get connected with the people in my office that can help facilitate that as well. So obstacles, looking for another obstacle.
If you have a comment, do you mind standing and using the mic?
Yes, I don't mind. I'm also with Youth as Resources. I'm not a youth. I didn't have to tell you that, right? I think that with philanthropy, both as grant givers and grant receivers, I think when the mayor talked about making mistakes, I think it's just really important to have sort of an open and honest sort of exchange, and we try to have that with our grantees. I don't know if we're always successful, but it's youth to youth, so it might be a little bit easier, and we've been really blessed in that we have that with a lot of our funders too, so that when we make mistakes, we don't feel that because we do. and we don't feel that there's a threat in sort of disclosing that. And some of our funders have been really amazing advisors, and we hope that we pay it forward and do the same with the young people that our young people fund. Does that make sense? Let me see the mic.
I was just going to add that there's a lot of philanthropic dollars in Baltimore, but there are also the needs are huge. So funders are constantly trying to figure out where do they make investments that make the best impact. And in my experience, the funders that I work with and the grants that we have, we do a lot of what Julie was just saying, really kind of trying to look at what worked, what didn't work, not expecting a grantee to perform perfectly, but to be able to have a dialogue where you can sort of identify what the challenges are and try to work on them to make those programs more successful. But that having been said, my advice to the field is the more you can do to really document what you're doing, just having good data on who you're serving and what the outcomes are, and documenting the challenges and being forthright about them with the funders. That's just really important. And I really, when it comes down to it, I think we're all in this together. And from my perspective, I think the funders I work with really see themselves as partners to the really hardworking people in the community organizations that are just trying to do this work every day, and the hardworking young people that are just doing everything they can to make the best and advance in their lives. And I think we're all in this together. So the more we can just dialogue and keep it, like I said, keep data, keep information as best you can.
So as grant givers this time, we support youth, one of our biggest challenges is the adult allies. And that's why when we have our grant seeker workshops, we take the adults and we make them get out. They have a separate adult workshop, and we keep the youth in the room and we train them. And we try to tell the adults, like, don't be domineering. Like, this is not your project. We are not funding you. We're funding your youth and their ideas, and they have to have thought of the project, created it, and everything. But some of the adults just don't understand it at all, and that is one of our biggest challenges.
Anyone? Yes, we have to get you the mic.
I would just say that's something that I recognize a lot with youth as resources. I think a lot of us sit around the table and do a lot of talking, and youth as resources really puts youth at the forefront of their organization. My name is Julie. I work for the Choice Program, and we work with adjudicated youth as well as youth in the foster care system. And I wanted to go back to the exposure that Janet was talking about with private partners and with the youth. And I think that when you're in the position to give, you will. And as far as exposure goes, I think the long-term efforts of combining private-public partnerships are great. In the short term, I think getting private partners on your board, getting private partners to come and screen your youth during mock interviews, getting private partners to do internships or kind of low-level commitments, job shadow days, things like that to get them exposed to the youth, and then they might up their ante in the future. So maybe it's not getting that job right away or getting those 10 jobs right away or that job fair with that employer, but it's getting a job shadow, and that'll build in the future. So that's what I wanted to say.
Anyone else? Yes.
Phil Leaf from Johns Hopkins. One is, I think, April 17th, you're going to be meeting with Dr. Thornton at 6 o'clock. Julie knows about it. One of the challenges, and you talked about the data, everybody sort of has to do everything. We have data, we have skills. Some of us are really not good at some things, we know that, but we're good at other things like the data. Universities tend to have lots of people that know about data. How can we be better linking with both the programs and the philanthropic agencies so that we have our skills, not telling people what to do programs, but training them how to use their data, interpret the data. Some of us are collaborating with city agencies and school systems around the data for outcomes, facilitating those kind of things so the programs, particularly the youth generation programs, can really focus on what they're good at, youth training other youth. And maybe the data is not their strong suit, but they have a partner, an adult partner or an organizational partner that can make it easier for them. Because as you said, if they can't document what they're doing in the longer run, it's going to be hard to sustain and continue. And I think there are people in the city. I mean, the really nice thing about Baltimore is there's lots of folks here. We have lots of assets, but how to get them best linked so that the needs of one group are met by the assets of another group.
Anyone want to tackle that? Anybody?
I don't know. Was that an offer for a gift?
Yes.
So the last question I have, and then I'll open it up to the floor and ask if there's anything else that the panel wanted to add to this conversation is, philanthropic organizations themselves have workforce needs. How can we work together to make sure that, number one, we're identifying what those specific needs are and preparing our young people, because we're trying to prepare young people for all types of career opportunities. And with such a strong philanthropic community in Baltimore, we want to make sure that we're doing that as well. Miss LaShawn and is it Tracy? Did I get it right? Tony, sorry. T, I got the T and the I right. So Miss LaShawn and Tony are two great examples of people who are on their way, if that is the path that they choose, but that's only two. So is there any other thing to add to that?
We have a whole organization full.
That's a great question. Julie, I was wondering if you actually have insight on.
I don't have insight. I wish I did. Is that an offer, Dr. Lee? Because we don't have a big staff to do data collection. But I mean, we have a history. I don't want to just step, of our young people going on in positions we may not know that they were involved with us, but some young people you probably know. I don't want to shout out. This is embarrassing. We're a part of Youth as Resources, so that's something that we actually. I don't know if I should say this. We actually just wrote a grant to the Able Foundation to refund us, and we asked them what are the pathways into philanthropy other than sort of our own loose network, and is there a way to examine it? And we certainly don't have the capacity to do that, but we do have some preliminary data on where our young people land, and not all decide to do public sector work, but certainly we think that almost all of the young people value it and at least continue as volunteers, and oftentimes our donors. So that's really cool also. I do think when I look at that one of the barriers, and I know we talk a lot about barriers, is if people with power could break down some of the obstacles to education. Because I don't think there's a foundation president without at least a college degree, right? And so that is really an obstacle, and an obstacle for the young people that we work with for a variety of reasons, mostly economic, but other reasons as well.
Just want to add to that. That collaboration on breaking down educational barriers is something that's very important to me, and something that I'm hoping that our Mayor's Office of Employment Development can play a critical role in partnership with our educational institutions. We have some partnerships, but I really think that they could be strengthened. And I know, as far as the partners in the work that I do, the government partners, Dr. Thornton believes very strongly that there should be a pathway to higher education, a very clear, unobstructed pathway to higher education. And when you take a look at the colleges and universities that we have in Baltimore, I know that we could be doing more, and I'm looking forward to doing that work. And I'm excited. That's why I was so excited when University of Baltimore announced that their new president was former Mayor Schmoke, because I knew immediately I had a partner there that has been in my shoes and understands how we can work better together. So I'm looking forward to strengthening those connections. Wonderful.
Thanks.
Wonderful. And one of the youth committee members that I mentioned that was working on the reducing teen pregnancy, he's a sophomore there. So you know, yeah, I was excited. All right, any other, anyone want to add? I know, Janet, you look like you wanted to say something.
Well, in terms of just, you know, how do we kind of help philanthropic organizations to determine if they have opportunities to hire, I think part of what I do with the community around really our funding priorities, which are jobs, housing, and hunger, is to bring the nonprofit leaders, typically about 30 come. We invite more, but typically we have on average 30 attend, to really just a forum with us where I kind of ask a few questions about things that are going on, and of course we get great feedback. Most of it is validating what we know, but the real power is the folks in the room get an opportunity to spend time together that they don't normally get to spend because they're doing their day jobs. So there could be some opportunity like that, Madam Mayor, where you know, and I would certainly be willing to work with your offices to help host, to bring some of those kinds of partners together with an emphasis on youth employment.
And that's one of the great things I like about these solution cities. We leave when we convene these solution cities meetings, we leave everyone with a project and a way to move us forward. So I think there are a lot of opportunities that have been put on the table that we're going to be able to take advantage of. I'll open it up. First, I'll open it up to the panel if there's any additional things that they wanted to add. Yes, Ms. LaShawn.
So one of the questions that I got emailed was, how can all types of grant makers work together in new and creative ways to prepare Baltimore's future workforce? So I was going to answer that really quickly because I really like that one. I think that people need to just be more understanding and be flexible about stuff. Because, well, in jobs, you need to be flexible because in most jobs that I know of, they won't work around your school schedule. But I'm still able to go to school and to work and volunteer because Youth as Resources is so flexible, and they understand that I need that education to go anywhere in life. Also, if you want to find creative ways to help the future youth workforce, you could just ask them. I think we just need to involve youth more. We need genuine youth engagement because we have great ideas and we want them to be heard. We also need more internships, and a lot of internships, there are internships, but most of them are not paid, and this is Baltimore City, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and we need money. So why go to an internship that's not paid when you can go work at McDonald's and put food on your table? So, yep, and yeah, that's about it.
If I can say, I like sitting next to you. You kind of get my thoughts moving. One of the things that we need to do is to think outside of the box. We're talking about youth employment. If we're talking about making the connection with a philanthropic organization, and they're wanting to figure out a pathway, they could, do something radical like put a youth on their board. This isn't. It's one board seat. But it is a voice. It's a direct connection outside of us talking about it. I have a feeling that there are a couple of good board members sitting right next to me. But that's really what it takes to hear what youth are seeing on the ground.
Well, I know the question originally started off was, what are the needs? And I feel like more youth need to know about our organizations because a lot of youth have really good ideas and they don't know, like, there's people that can help you. And they're youth just like you too, adults also. Like, everybody wants to help, so they need to know more about our organizations and what we do so we can help them.
Thank you. All right, thank you all very much. And now that we've heard from our panel, I'll open it up to any other questions or comments from the audience.
Yes, my name is Sharita Thomas from the T. Rowe Price Foundation, and it actually goes back to an earlier comment. I got the mic a little late. But from a grant perspective, one of the things that I would say for those who are seeking funding is to engage the organization and to find out, one, what their strategic areas of focuses are, what are they likely to fund, but also understand what your outcome is. And if your outcome is discovery or catalytic, like you're trying to change or you're not sure, have those conversations, because when we invest in something, we want it to be successful. It also may be an opportunity, particularly at T. Rowe Price, we do a lot of volunteerism. So if it's an opportunity where our associates can be involved and come out and do workshops, you want to help, how do you build a relationship? But if you just send a grant, you're not going to find out really how to make that presentation coming from different angles. It's a way to engage associates. It could be pipeline for future talent. So how do we do that? But it's not going to be just sort of straight line, we just give you money, but we want to be involved and invested in that success. And I work with Alice through the school system in my prior role, which I'm now in a foundation, where we have a Girls Career Day event, particularly because young women are not going into investments and they're not into math skills, as we all know. So one of the things that we do is we provide an opportunity for you to come and tour the trading desk to plant the seeds. So maybe when you leave high school or when you think about what classes to take, you'll look a hard look at that math or that science class, because they are specific skills that we need in the workforce. So understanding that, okay, if I want to work at T. Rowe Price, I'm going to have to get my bachelor's degree, but maybe I need to make sure I get this and I can get this prerequisite before I go to college. So I just wanted to summarize that from a perspective from a philanthropist.
Okay, anyone else from the audience? All right, well, I can't thank you enough for if we could give our panel a big hand. Oh, I'm sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, I had a comment. I can speak without the mic. To the ladies here, I'm a former youth worker, and adults do get it. You just have to have some that will be humble enough to submit and let you take things over. Also, in addition, I wanted to give you the question is, what is your social media and marketing campaign to reach the youth?
Well, we have a Facebook, an Instagram, and a Twitter. Yeah. And we're trying to actually get a YouTube page to show like what we do at the places we go and the events we have, trying to let everyone know.
What's your marketing? How are you doing that? How are you, like with social media, how are you getting it out to all the youth in all the schools in the city of Baltimore? What are you doing? What's your marketing?
So we tell about our meetings and our upcoming events that we have, so that anyone who wants to come, mostly can come if they want, like to our grant seeker workshops. And we have people on our board that are in control of the social media, so it's not just one person, it's everyone is involved in what goes on it and are in control, because we are youth and we run this.
So is your Facebook page Youth Resources, your Twitter's what, at Youth Resources or at YAR?
Our Instagram is official_YAR. Our Twitter is YAR Be More. And our Facebook is Youth as Resources. But I'm sure you all know that youth and social networking is just like we do this. So we have the younger high school students at Youth as Resources, and we have them in charge, because my personal Instagram probably has like maybe 1,000, and theirs has probably like 10,000. And I'm like, what? Like, how do you? Because there's a lot of them. So they know better, and I text them like, okay, it's time to get on social media. What have you guys posted recently? So we just make sure that we're always on there, because youth love their technology, and yeah.
Perfect. So can we give our panel a round of applause, please? I want to thank not just our panelists, but all of our audience members as well. I think my team who is here know that we have some opportunities to follow up on, and I just want to say how grateful I am that you've done more than just come, but you've come in a spirit of collaboration with our most precious resources, our young people who are our future. As you know, with that focus, I want to thank you all, and I want to thank Councilman Costello for being here as well. And I want to also make sure that you know that our 4th town hall will be on Wednesday, April the 21st. And one of the things I'd like to do at that time is talk about some of the work that's come out of the solutions conversations up to this point. And I think that will help us to spur even more collaboration. So thank you. And I know that I'm looking at the future, the ones that will be convening the panel in the future. And I'm just so proud of both of you. Thank you.